and I remember going downtown to the concert hall,
Oh my
and
God, the concept.
I have a backpack like on me, and I have all my shirts in the back, and then I see a limo,
Mm,
and in the limo is one of my schoolmates.
mm.
So I'm like, "Yo, what's going on?" Like, so I run up to him, "Yo, what's going on?" And when I look in the car, he's a kid in play.
Real Talk with Star Scorpio, episode 102. I'm so excited about my guest today. He built a legacy that's stitched into the culture. Garie Adamson, aka Miles, the founder of 100 Miles, created a brand that didn't just sell clothes, it made a statement. His designs have been worn by some of the biggest names in music and culture. Tupac rocked the hoodie in Above the Rim. Drake brought it full circle at the Raptors game. Today, we're going to dive into his path, how he built a movement, stayed true to his roots, and turned a local vision into an international name. Gary, welcome to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
Blessed. I'm blessed. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. Like I said in the beginning, I'm excited about this podcast because you're a staple in Toronto. And I want to learn about your path and how you grew the brand. And with Real Talk with Star Scorpio, we like to build a timeline. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Kingston, Jamaica,
Okay.
but I was raised in Toronto, Canada.
So
From
wait, when did you come here then?
2 years old.
Oh, okay, so you're young, right?
Yeah, very young. I had no choice.
Yeah, yeah, you no choice. And
So,
do you have siblings?
oh yeah, I got two sisters, one brother, one older brother.
And everybody came over at the same time.
My sisters are born here. My brother was born in Jamaica also. So the two of us came over, and later on they had my two sisters.
Oh, so they're born here. So where are you in the
I
sibling?
oldest,
Yeah, second oldest. All right, all right.
middle.
And how was that growing up with your parents? Because I'm Bayesian Guyanese, so we're you're born. You came here at 2, but I was born in Toronto, so it's the same thing. We have the background with the Caribbean culture where you got the strict household. Was your household strict growing up?
Understatement.
Understand.
Understatement. Totally. Mom was the general sergeant.
Yeah.
Dad was strict, but he was chill. You know,
Mm.
more mom, I'd always say.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, my mom was the one that was the discipline, but my dad was there for backup though with that
Yes,
belt. You know what I
yes.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came first.
Okay. And wait, what neighborhood did you grow up? Because I like to learn about you now because it's rarely that I get a guest from Toronto. I'm interviewing people from the States all over, but now that you came here, I want to know where you grew up because I was raised Eglinton West, Little Jamaica.
Yeah, that's
But
where we started.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
started in the jungle.
In Jungle? Okay.
Uh,
But my parents moved to the North York Scarborough border.
ours went to Scarborough, Malvern.
Oh, you grew up in Malvern. Okay.
Malvern Junior Public School,
Mm,
then Hilliard, then Pearson. So I'm a Hilltop slash Malvern representative.
okay. So wait, so you were in Jungle, but what age did you come to Scarborough?
I came to Scarborough, let's say when I was 4 years old, 4 or 5.
Okay, okay.
In the jungle for about a year or two. They didn't like the environment, so they bought a house and raised us in the east.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to a lot of black families.
Yeah.
But of course, a lot of them stayed in the West End. But you know what's crazy? My barber, because my dad used to take us to, his name was Burke,
Yeah.
Leslie Burke on Eglinton West. And he used to take us there. And then my brother and I kept going to Burke until he passed away. But as teenagers growing up, we took the bus from Scarborough all the way just to get our haircut, bro. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that was us too. I remember going to Bathurst, Bathurst Station from Scarborough just to get my hair cut.
Yeah.
It was Lloyd's, if it was the name of the barber shop back then,
Yeah.
when everybody was having the high tops and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. All right. So now school. Let's start at middle school, like junior high school. What kind of activities did you like? Or were you a books person? Were you playing the sports or were you more into that
I was,
the studies?
I was sports. I was out to lunch when it came to studies
Yeah.
until like grade 12, 13 that like I tapped in, you know,
Mm.
and started thinking about, hey, what do I want to do with my life, and where do I want to go, right? So majority of it was just like sports and skipping school.
Yeah, you skipping school, I'm telling you, man.
Skipping school, hanging out with my friends and just doing nonsense.
Yeah, yo, were you affected by, I don't know if it was everywhere in North York, Scarborough, but we're around the same age. So there was a strike. Do you remember if there was a strike when you went to school?
No, there's no.
Oh, okay. Because we had a strike when I was in grade 8. And some teachers were striking and some weren't. So it's like we had gaps between subjects, right? So it was kind of cool at the time, but didn't know about that striking back then. But you get a little older, you find about teachers and what they want. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And then sports wise, what did you playing?
I played volleyball, soccer, track and field. Um, yeah, that's about it, right? I just did a few sports. I didn't really get into ball. Um,
Oh yeah.
I got grounded, so my mom never let me go out to try out. So so I kind of missed out on ball, So
Yeah.
it's kind
You know what? I like playing ball with my boys, right? But school wise, it was too organized. I couldn't get down with it. Volleyball was my sport because I had a vertical, and then track I did high jump.
yeah, I
But ball I didn't play either in school.
400, 400, 200.
Yeah, you were fast.
No. No. When I was earlier days, but not like as the later, getting into high school and, schools merging and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah. So you went to Pearson, right?
Yes, yes, I did.
So now you said that you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do in life too, right? So did you go to post-secondary school with a thought that, yep, this is what I'm going for? Because I don't know. Tell me if you went to college or university, or what did you do after high school?
To university.
You went to university. So you were the OACs like me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the OACs.
Yeah, I missed like honors by like 2% and and still I was out to lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my it was more my parents that were like pushing,
Mm,
and I more or less because of one of my teachers, Mr. Burrell,
mm.
pushed me into business. And so I started majoring in business and focusing on business, and here I am now.
Yeah, yeah, self-made. We got to get into that. But that was one of my questions that I like asking now. Do you have any teachers that stand out to you, good or bad? I remember some people gave me good and bad, and it's so crazy how you always remember their name. Like you'll never forget that person. Do
Yeah,
you have that example?
I have Mr. Burrell. He
Hmm.
was a black business teacher at Pearson,
Mm.
and he really thought on us, especially the black students, to
Yeah,
excel and focus, and to really think about our futures and pursue business. So he pretty much is one of my biggest inspirations on
yeah.
why I'm here now and doing what I do. And then I remember going from grade 8, like middle high or junior high, whatever they want to call it, 7, 8, and Mr. Patel. I remember him saying to me, "You're never going to make it in life."
Oh, really?
Said that to me, and I always wanted to prove him wrong, right?
Hmm.
Like he goes, you're gonna end up at like a vocational school at the time, and I was like, yeah, I'm going right next door, and I proved him wrong. Here I am now.
Good, man. Bless up, bless up. So, two questions on that. Did you see any of these teachers in the future? Like, is Mr. Burrell still with us? Do you know anything like
I'm
that?
not too certain. I heard that he is, but
Yeah,
probably in his late latter years.
yeah,
Again, Mr. Patel, I didn't even bother.
yeah, yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Well, if he's alive, salute. If not, rest in peace.
Mm, nice, nice. Okay, so what university did you go to?
To Ryerson,
Oh, you went to right. What's the new name now? They changed the name on us, eh? They,
HMU,
yeah, I don't know the name. They changed it, but you went to Ryerson. Okay, and you took,
business admin.
yeah, 3-year course?
It was a 4 year, but in the middle of it, this idea came, and I had to kind of detour
Yeah.
pursue this. It kind of outgrew my expectancies, right?
Uh,
And so I had
That
to,
that no, that's sorry. That's a key point right there that we're gonna expand on. But just to let you know, I took 3 year at Seneca
oh, nice.
business admin, but I felt like it wasn't meeting up to my expectations and it was kind of easy for me. So I dropped down to the 2 year general business and I got my diploma with honors. But I was like, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. That's what leads me to you now. How did this start now? 100 miles clothing. You said you had to pivot. So what year did that happen? The second year, the first year? What was it you were saying?
The second year of business, I was in a lecture, a marketing lecture, and I just remember the professor saying to us, like, whatever you want to do in life, you got to do it now. Like, start it now. Like, you shouldn't be like, he's kind of like, you guys are wasting your time here, and, listening, speak, go pursue your dreams or your passion.
Mm,
At the time, it was a TTC strike, and I was on the Don Valley. And what the teacher said, the professor said to me was like really resonating in my head. Like like it was just like ongoing thoughts. And then I remember just being stuck in traffic for over like 2 hours or so, and I'm stuck in front of a 100-kilometer sign.
mm,
Looking at the sign, and then I'm looking at the road, and then I'm like, 100 kilometers, 100 miles, right? And then this idea came where the concept came, whereas I saw everybody like we're all lined up, so it's like the concept of 100 miles is that 100 miles symbolizes the human race, the fact that we're always racing to get somewhere. So we've come 100 miles, but we still got 100 miles to go. And so that's kind of how like the whole thing, kind of like a Newton, the apple hits your head.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I got around my peers, and I remember, giving them like, I got this idea. I was like super excited, and everybody was shooting it down like that ain't going nowhere. Like all my friends were saying like, that that's BS. That's garbage, man. Like I don't know what you talking, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I believed in it so much that like I always want to let people eat their words, right?
Mm,
So I kind of shifted away from those friends, and got around like new friends, and people that were seeing my vision, and so I created a little crew that
yeah.
would help execute what is now the brand, right? And here we are now.
Whoa. That was so nice hearing that story. Yo, put a year on this for me though.
I'd say 90, 91,
Ni-
19.
So this is gonna lead into some of the questions because this is like the heart of hip hop,
Yeah,
classic
yeah.
hip hop, right? But I just want to touch on this more because I'm impressed by that story. So you now I know how you came up with the concept. Being stuck in traffic. It's beautiful. The friends thing is serious because I don't know about you, but I learned later in life, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You know these things that we hear when you're
Definitely.
older. And
Yeah.
it's like it sounds like you kind of experienced that too and then you had to like jump ship, right?
They all, eventually worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
like that. Okay, once you came up with the concept with the 100 miles, how did you design the logo? Where did that come from? Did it go through many drafts or did you already know what you wanted?
I knew what I wanted. Like it, so 100 miles, like in the beginning, it was about quote unquote the black struggle,
Mm,
right? And so if you see our original logo, which is my tattoo, right? It's infamous, we call him. So
okay.
it's like he's not a man, he's not a woman, he's just a being, and then he has 100 on his back, and
Mhm,
100 on, and then he's on top of the world. He's running on top of the world, and so the concept was that the 100 represented the struggles that we as people have endured, right? And racing through the world and racing through time, we're trying to overcome these obstacles and these struggles, just like COVID and terminal illnesses like cancer, what's unfortunately taking a lot of people. So the whole logo was to gravitate like the whole, let's say human race and the race that we as people have to go through, right?
mhm.
And that's how like the whole concept and the design came to be. And it came on one draft.
One draft. Wait, so who actually penciled it for you or created that artwork?
It was a gentleman by the name of Mike. I can't remember his last name. And so my school friends and I, we were like always artsy fartsy kind of guys. Like I was always into comic books. Like I
Yeah.
was, let's say, a comic book nerd. So we always drew, and so I remember asking my like one of my close friends that just came and see me a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, I remember you asking me to draw this logo. And I know he's saying it, he said, I wish I did. you know
Yeah, yeah.
so he goes, I remember him saying to me, gee, I think it's a little out of my league. I want to refer you to my one of my colleagues, and he referred me to Mike, and then, I gave him my vision, and, in one draft he got it, you know.
Wow.
Well, I still got the original draft.
Oh, you do? Is it framed up in the store or anything or?
My basement somewhere.
Yeah,
Basement, like, like that way, no, I'm not gonna lose it, right? Like,
yeah.
time I need to dig for it, I kind of know where it's at.
Yo, I like that. This is why I wanted you on the podcast. I like hearing these stories, especially because you're a Toronto cat. Um, One thing that, I touched on school though, but you did say just now that you're into the art, you're into comics and everything. But my downfall, I don't even call it a downfall, but one of the things I didn't do was read a lot. And it
No.
messed up my vocabulary as an adult now because I'm struggling for words every time I try to talk to people, right? I'm like, sometimes I think, how did I survive? I'm 51. How did I survive all this time? But did you read back in the day, whether it be the comics to build that vocabulary, or even, you know what book I read? Like, look how I said book, I didn't read many books. I read Eddie Murphy's biography, Malcolm X biography, and then
Yeah,
there's a couple more I read, Tupac, but I
yeah,
had to be interested in it. So I
yeah.
wasn't interested in the school reading Shakespeare and all these things, right?
I liked Shakespeare.
You like Shakespeare. So tell me about that part of it. Did you
Othello,
read back in the days a
yeah,
lot?
Othello, Macbeth.
Yeah.
I was really into mobsters, like Italian mobsters,
Yeah. Me too.
like mobsters and like the Gambino family and like all these different families of mobsters and how like their rise and their downfall and stuff like that. Al Capone. So I loved just reading, and that was kind of my peace, or my tranquility
Yeah.
is is still reading and learning. and trying to, always, develop, the vocab and like they say, every day's a new day and every day you learn something new. So the more we read, the more, knowledge we get.
So true, man. So true. I like how you just touched on mobsters there because again, I didn't read. I just spent my time watching A&E
Okay.
investigative reports, and I loved the mob stories from the John Gotti's and down. You know, I loved it so much. I reached out to a mobster's son for my
Oh,
podcast.
oh, wow.
He got back to me though, but he wanted me to, pay him. Right. I'm not doing that right now. I'm just doing
Yeah.
podcasts with anybody that want to do it. But yeah, they wanted a fee, right? There's so many people that I contacted, but it was so cool to talk to a mobster's son just to see what was up.
Oh,
Okay, now 100 miles. So you told me all that stuff. Now, let me know because you're from Jamaica, you have that background too. Were you like me where you were into the Michael Jackson era and all that. We were all touched by the Michael
yeah.
Jackson, right? And all that stuff. And but then something happened. The switch happened where you were probably exposed to more dancehall than me, but when the dancehall hit me, I actually liked dancehall more than hip hop back in the days. And then I switched. But what about you?
They're the same. I can't pick one genre over the other. I love both, like at the same capacity.
Oh, okay.
So, and R&B. Like every
Oh yeah.
all music forms I love. Like
Yeah.
I'm very musically oriented. Our brand is very musically oriented. And so my late father was a
Mm.
sound man,
Oh,
quote slash quote, a DJ.
yeah.
And he'd always, let us know that a couple things he teach me and my brother is like, one, music has no color,
Mm.
just the sound, and as long as it makes you feel good or it's giving you a message of positive, like, something that you can gravitate to, that's music,
Yeah.
and so that's how I've grown to appreciate the different genres of music and not, let's say, compare them, just
Oh,
respect them and just be, part of all the cultures that, have been developed in terms of the music.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that too, breaking it down. Because and I think that's why we all love Caravana time too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
they we get hit with everything
Yes,
from the
yeah,
soca to the dancehall to the R&B to the
yeah, man.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Toronto,
That's in Toronto.
yeah, I love the city. It's changing, or it has changed, but it
Yeah.
still consider it home, you know.
Yes. For
Yeah.
real.
So
Okay. Now, so you told me the concept. You told me how you got the logo. One shot. I like that. Now, where do you learn the business acumen? So, how do you know about making the clothes? What did you start with? The hoodies, the shirts?
sure.
What do you do? Sell outside your house? Like, tell me that whole thing about the marketing aspect.
So it was kind of how it all really started was I was in Scarborough and I like had no money really, and I saw like a clothing company, like a big clothing outfit,
Mm.
right? And surprisingly, the guy's name was Gary also.
Oh,
And I think that's why he kind of gravitated to me.
yeah.
He's looking at this young black guy saying, "Hey, I want to make clothes," and he's like, "What do you know about this?" I'm like, "I don't know nothing, but I'm trying to learn about it." So he goes, he sees the logo,
Mm.
"I'll make your first shirts," right? And so he made me like 50 shirts. And I remember going downtown to the concert hall,
Oh my
and
God, the concept.
I have a backpack like on me, and I have all my shirts in the back. And then I see a limo,
Mm.
and in the limo is one of my schoolmates.
Mm.
So I'm like, "Yo, what's going on?" Like, so I run up to him, "Yo, what's going on?" And when I look in the car, he's a kid in play.
What?
Yeah, he's a kid in play because I see this big uh
Cameo.
and then the next, like, play just like, chill. And I remember my heart start pacing oh like I'm starstruck. Like, oh my God. Like so these guys are superstars at this
Yeah.
time. I remember just going into my backpack and whipping up shirts like kind of throwing it at them and like here, and not knowing what I was doing. And
Mhm.
so I remember a kid looking at the shirt for about I'd say a good 5 minutes,
Mhm.
just staring at it, and my heart's pacing. Like what's he thinking? What's going on here? And he turns to me and he goes, "This is you?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah, this is me." So I'm thinking he's gonna throw it back and say, "Get out of here!" Like
Yeah.
this. He goes, "Yo, take my number, right? And call me. I'm gonna hook you up." And the rest is history. And he at the time got me in contact with Uptown Records, the
I
Laker,
remember Uptown Records. Yeah.
and that's how, let's say, the journey started. Rest in peace to Andre Harrell.
Andre Harrell. Yeah.
He's pretty much the first label and the first artists to put us on next to when we were at the concert hall that night was Chub Rock. It was the Fushnikins,
Oh my God. Yeah.
Cypress Hill,
Yeah.
and the UMCs.
Oh
And
God.
I'm just throwing out shirts given to all of here, and here we are now. And
Wait. Let's slow down for a minute. Gary. Yeah, let's slow down for a minute. So, first of all, you didn't have a plan in mind. You got the backpack with the shirts and you went down. Do you believe in fate, Gary? Do you believe in fate?
I believe in God. I
You believe
believe
in
so
God.
much in God, and everything is the creator. And
Yeah.
without him, there's nothing.
Mm.
So all this is his works, and I'll always tell people, I'm just a vessel.
Yeah.
He's, transmitted his messages and this brand through, right? So, it's
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for saying that, man. Um, you went down with the backpack.
yeah.
The limo. Which friend was it? Like, how close was this friend to you?
Well, we're distant now, but we're still homies, right? And it was a schoolmate, and I remember giving him one of the shirts too,
Yeah.
right? He's kind of one of those guys in Toronto that people know and has a here and there kind of pass, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I want to, dabble too much into him, but he was that guy at the time, and he was the connect, and here we are
Hmm.
now, right? And then he had a fallout with Kid and Play because he did some kind of fraudulent stuff,
Okay. Yeah.
cards, and I remember like saying, "Yo, what's up with my homie?" And they're like, "Don't mention him to
Yeah.
me." I was like, okay, right. And I just remember like getting up with Kid and Play, a few times in the early parts of my career, and
Yeah.
them helping me to, you know, get connected to some of the artists that I know now as friends.
That's crazy. He gave you your number, and we're talking before cell phones too.
Oh yeah,
That's crazy. Um, so are you saying when you went down there, your intention? Because did you go in the concert hall now? Did you go in? You're saying that's how you saw Far Side and Tuition the Kids. So you didn't know that was gonna happen.
no, I didn't.
That's crazy.
It's gonna happen. We just, it's like you said, the faith in God that
Mm,
made the brand manifest, and we kind of got labeled hip hop, a
yeah,
hip brand or hip hop clothing line, and for all my years we were like, we're just a clothing brand, you know what I
yeah.
mean? We love hip hop, so all right, if you guys want to label us that, all right, cool.
Go ahead.
Run with it. All right, that's cool. But we like reggae, we like soul music, we like R&B, we like all this other music, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I like rock, I like all types of music, like soft rock. I grew up like Depeche Mode, General Public, Level 42, Trent D'Arby, like so my my music is just like all over the place in terms of like what I listen to. Sade, you know what I'm saying? Whitney
and
Houston,
of course,
So I didn't mind the label of hip hop because hip hop at the time was everybody was trying to say it was gonna go out like it was a fad.
yeah.
And I was like, Nah,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll make it stay.
Yes. So that, this is amazing because you were there for it. Wait, so let me know. This is like going on 30 years.
33.
The 33, the brand, right? This is amazing because you've seen it's not the birth of hip hop because when we started listening, it was Big Daddy Kane
Yeah,
and artists like that, right? And even LL was a youngster, right, when we started.
Africa.
But the 90s, right?
Um, Fat Boys,
Fat Boys, yes.
WD, uh,
FBD, rest in peace.
Air One, BDP, uh,
Yes.
Kim, Big Daddy, Big Daddy.
Mm,
Like these are like kind of my starting roots. Just Ice. Like there's so many earlier. Like I was really into it. You know what I mean? Because my dad was Jamaican, and so like he'd always say to me that music is nonsense. It has
yeah,
no
yeah.
substance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, Dad, listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this man's Public Enemy.
Public Enemy.
Was like one of my hugest influences, between, Public Enemy, EPMD, and BDP.
Yeah. Oh, Boogie Down Productions.
Yeah.
Scott LaRock. I remember in English class, I did a paper on KRS. One of his lines, Boogie Down Production is made up of teachers. The legend is induct. And I broke it down in English class. That's when I started getting into hip hop.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
my
reading it. It was like unreal. That's when I was pinching myself. I used to have to pinch myself. I'm saying, am I really with
yeah,
these, my heroes, and the legends that they are now. And at the time, they just showed me love and accepted me and accepted what I was doing. And here we are now, 33 years.
33. Yeah. Okay, let's keep on this timeline now. So Kid and Play were the first rappers, right? Now, Uptown Records, Andre Harrell passed away. But was that before Puff? Because when I'm getting older now, so the timeline is messed up to me when the whole Puff and the Bad Boy thing started. So give me the history on that.
So that was during time Puff was just like an intern.
Intern. Yeah.
So and if people check out MTV Unplugged, Uptown Records, they did a whole Unplugged at the time on MTV. If you look at like they were called the Swing Mob, or like they were the musicians. Majority
Mhm.
of them were wearing our clothing.
Oh.
And yeah, Unplugged. And I remember it was Master T that had said, "Gee, do you know that they're wearing your stuff like with Mary and Jodeci and Father MC and Heavy D performing?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, I don't like." Because I remember back then we didn't really watch those things. Like I didn't like sit there and like waiting to watch a
Yeah.
video what they're wearing. We just kept doing like kept a tunnel vision of trying to develop this clothing line and develop designs. And so we didn't really watch any of it until like years later. And then
Okay.
like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yo, I was gonna ask you about that though, but I need to know now. The up when Uptown Records like took you on or something you're saying, but printing the clothing now, like you started with 50 shirts, but then what happened after that? Because now don't you have to mass produce? Don't you have to make?
Well, what happened after that is I put together uh my company, right? And so I had like school friends that were in university. Shout out Oliver Walters from Rap City. That was one of my
My
PR
God,
person.
I
Uh,
love Oliver. Yeah.
Maurice was my designer at the time. Maurice Davis. Shout out Mo because he always says I don't give him his credit, so I give him his credit.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of other homies, and I remember just going around like the fashion district or the garment district. A lot of people were like, kind of kicking me out of their offices, like not taking me seriously until a gentleman by the name of Herb.
Mhm.
Rest in peace. Herb was very old at the time, so I know Herb's gone now.
Yeah.
he was just so kind, and he's like, I'll take you guys on, and he started producing for us, you know,
Wow.
and I'd made a business plan, got a loan from the bank. I met another Jamaican lady that got me my first store that was on 672 Young Street. So, when we came out with a bang. We came out with like the Fushnikins doing an autograph session, the UMCs and Organized Confusion, which slash Pharaoh Monch, Prince Poe, and the rest is history now.
Wow. Wait, what about local? Because
Local
like
wasn't really big until
Maestro,
Maestro,
Maestro.
Maestro and Farley. They tapped in,
Mhm.
right? Shout out Maestro, Wes Williams. He kept, like showing me, G, you gotta, rep for the Toronto heads, the local scene. And so between, I'd say 88.1,
Mhm.
89.5, the radio stations, that's where a lot of the information and the source of the music and the vibe came from for the city. And that's where we started getting tapped into like groups like Ghetto Concept,
Yes.
um Thrust. Shout out my boy Thrust. Jellystone. Uh,
Wow.
Rumbling Strong.
Oh,
HDG.
oh,
You know,
you're
like
dropping the names.
Mishi. You know what I'm saying? Mishi Me. Right?
Mm.
So we really got tapped in on the Toronto aspect of things, and helped develop it to where it's at now, where there's Champagne Pappies, Tory Lanes, and all these different artists that are coming out the weekend, that come out of the Pressa, that come out of the city.
Okay. So we were talking about the launch of the store and the artist that came down. I think I asked you like which Canadian artist at the time. But
In the outpour
yeah,
party, everybody. Shout out.
yeah.
Um,
I,
uh,
wait, I'm trying to think of what I was doing at the time. It's so crazy because there's no social media. You see how social media just changed everything?
oh yeah,
So mans them are making movements
yeah.
without this
Wow.
ease of communication. It's so hard, you know what I mean? But you had it running with you. Like once you got in the know, you were down with some of the people, the key people. Because when we're talking about much music, there was Electric Circus at the time. So Master T and them, right? So you were in the know and you're in the city, in the vibe, right? So
Definitely, definitely. From Electric Circus to Extend the Mix to Rap City,
Rhapsody.
we were on all platforms, whether it was an artist wearing us, whether they were interviewing us, whether they were just, them the VJs or the hosts wearing our brand. So we're very, very appreciative of, the contributions that, Much Music and City TV has done for our brand.
Yeah. Do you remember the first interview you did when
Oh
it
yeah.
was starting to roll and it's like, okay, we gotta get this guy on screen? Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
that was Dini Petty show.
Didi Petty. Oh, jeez.
So that my very first interview ever, and I was very nervous. Like
Yeah.
my heart was like, because if you know me, like this person that you see now on the screen, this took like 30 odd years to develop because
Yeah.
I was always, no, I don't want to do any interviews. I was never a person that liked to, have a camera in front of my face or even a microphone. I just was like a very candid, we could speak
Mhm.
one on one, but as social media developed, I remember it was I believe it was Jester, Court Jester,
Oh, yeah.
saying, gee, you gotta like really, tell your story and step to the plate and let people know who you are. And and I had to like, get over my anxieties
Mm.
interviews and people looking at me and knowing that I rep this brand. Because I remember when I would do it, right, everybody would flock to us for like sponsorship or free promo, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I kind of always wanted to stay like low key, underground, right?
Mm. So you didn't have someone repping you to speak
Yeah, it was
on behalf.
Oliver. It was Oliver Walters, which became Rap City. Like so, Oliver had started with us, and then he had got a promotion onto Rap City. So he unfortunately had to leave the brand and pursue his career aspirations. So Oliver was the guy that in the beginning orchestrated a lot of our interviews and our getting us exposure.
Uh, okay. And now you have a lot of these rap artists wearing your gear, and then you start to meet some of the rap artists that you grew up listening to. When did it when did the starstruck feeling just go away, or has it gone away?
Oh, it's gone away a long
A
time.
long time, right?
Long time.
So when did it go away? Do you remember who you met and you're like now you're like, okay, I'm a clothing designer. I own my brand. This is my thing, and I'm just meeting another rapper because
I'd say
your
most,
reaction with Kid and Play was probably crazy.
yeah,
And then when you, who was it that you met where you're like, okay, nice to meet you,
most used to work for me, most staff.
Most Def, Yasin Bey.
Yeah, yeah, I see him.
What?
So I remember, and crazy story. He's in a Toronto documentary.
Yeah,
I think it's called The Art of Noise or something of that nature about the Toronto hip hop scene. I remember telling him like we're going down there, and I'm like, "Yo, don't rap.
yeah.
You're good. Don't rap because you're wearing my clothes." He ends up rapping, and then if you see me in the footage, I'm like upset. Like I told this guy, don't.
Yeah,
Like, I like to rock 100 miles, and I'm like, oh my god, he even said our name. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I remember years later, he's performing like sold out show in Toronto. I have backstage because it's my homie,
yeah.
and we're chilling, and I'm just laughing because I'm like, holy crow, I'm so glad you didn't listen to me and stop rapping. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Look at him now. He's like one of
He
the
is.
faces of this culture.
Yeah, and he's so talented, so talented. You know what's crazy? Because I'm probably gonna ask you later on to give advice to people that want to give up on their dreams because you just touched on something there. So you know when you were talking about in the beginning how you're around that crew, that
Yeah,
friend group that was saying, "Yeah, this ain't going nowhere." Da da da. You know what I mean? You could have gave up at that point if you believed in them.
yeah,
So you telling most deaf
yeah.
a certain thing, but not only you, bro, he probably heard it from some other people
Oh
too.
yeah, oh
But
yeah.
there's something inside some people that where they just keep pushing and just look at the talent we have in all kinds of things, right? So I'm gonna probably ask you a question later on. But that's cool. He used to work, so he's American, but so what did he do? He
Well, and everybody kind of, because we're on Young Street,
yeah,
pass our store, come into our store, Ice-T, William Shatner, Johnny Gill, House of Pain, Far Side, Black Moon, that's Buckshot in
yeah.
them, uh, Pete Rock and Seal Smooth, the Artifacts, Mike Geronimo, the Fugees.
Holy jeez.
There's so many names that that I can drop that
Yeah.
come through my stores. Biggie. Biggie.
Yo, I got to hear that story. But before, because I remember when Biggie came, I don't know, it was 94 around Carabana. I think he came in 94. And I remember my friend was going to Ryerson
Yeah,
and he said he seen Biggie on Young Street. And
yeah,
then I remember he was in a pool hall on probably Rap City or
yeah.
something at Young Street. But you got to tell me about this. But did you find this? Because I found this, we're Caribbean growing up, right? So it's Americans used to think maybe like Toronto was a different thing until they came here. Did
Thought
you
we were,
find that from some of the artists that they come to Toronto and be like, "Oh, this is Toronto"?
sorry, a lot of them thought we were in igloos.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
them thought like it was cold up here, and like we there was no black people. You know what I mean? And like I was kind of the voice for the voice for the whole community. Like, man, y'all got to get more educated. So
Yeah.
a lot of like, educating them and, majority of them like the Fushtikins, they got family up here, so they got more, verse, and it just kind of opened up more and more of them to see that Toronto was part of the scene. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we helped, develop it into to what it is now, right? Like
Yeah.
with, um, like some of my favorite groups, De La Tribe, like, I remember that's when I was really starstruck.
Okay.
Just getting back up with De La the other day, and them remembering me, and it was just crazy after 33 years. We're still in this,
Yeah.
and still rotating and moving the culture.
Yo, one of the members passed away from De La Soul, right? I forgot his name. You know
Plug
what?
and Trugoy,
Yeah, pass.
you
Rest in
know,
peace.
so
Yeah.
my some of my most fondest memories are with Tribe and De La, like in terms of the brand and them repping us. I remember going to Buffalo and they were performing at a college in Buffalo and them just wearing us and like just having a great time just vibing with Tribe was just an amazing feat. And I remember that's when I was like super 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 starstruck.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, is this for real? Is this for real? Like, I'm with my like, like I'm a huge De La Soul Tribe fan, so it was just like a moment. Let's say.
Yeah. So did it just on the side, I want to ask about Biggie, but just on the side, how did it affect you? Because you had a relationship. I'm just a fan because I like the music, but you had a relationship with them. So when you hear Fife pass away, when you hear these things, Pac pass away, Biggie pass, like you can just go down the list of all the rappers that passed. How did it affect you?
It affected me in a sense that I knew now that for the brand there was a bigger purpose, and that was to continue their legacies and to represent their legacies, right? So it was every time that I lose, inspirational people, musically, it just lets me know that this brand has a bigger meaning than just clothes, right? It has a bigger message that, we have to let the world know that these were amazing artists, these were legends, and they're gone before their time, but we're still here. So with my time, I'm going to make sure that they're here still, right?
Mhm.
And as we as a brand, each piece of clothes is dedicated to them. So that when they're gone, you're still getting a piece of them through my brand. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we do it.
Yeah, I like that. Well said. Okay, now Biggie, when Biggie came here, Kwame Demont, my public school friend that we were talking about on Kiss 92, when he was on my podcast, he told me a story about Biggie being in our neighborhood. I live in Parkwoods,
Okay.
like Victoria Park in Ellesmere, and
Okay.
Demont was saying that he saw this guy at a gas station and one leg was sticking out the car. And he said the leg was huge, right? And then he came up to him and then he's like, Biggie? But Biggie was in the hood. And I guess he was going to concert hall. Something big was going on at the time. So tell me your story about Biggie.
So Big really is the person that got me serious about my brand.
Mm,
Big was the person that let me know what was going on with my brand, right? Because at the time, the the people or the label people that had like were chaperoning him around the city did not want Biggie to come to our store due to our competition. So the competition was like I don't know, I guess scared of us and the influence that we had on, all the artists. And so I remember when Biggie came into our store, first thing he goes to me, "Yo, G, what's up?" Like, and at the time I was superbly nervous because one, Tupac is wearing my brand, and him
Mm.
and Tupac are at the heights of beef. And I was like, "Oh my God, Biggie's gonna come here and like slap me up because Pac is wearing my stuff, and you know what I mean. I'm down with Uptown slash Bad Boy." Um, and I remember him saying to me, "Yo, G, this cat right here didn't want to take me to your store, so I had to find you." And he said, like, I left it. And so you see the guy that's trying to take him around, he's down with my competition. He wouldn't come into my store. He just stayed at the door, and you could see that he was upset that Biggie found me.
Yeah.
And Biggie now says to me, "Yo, G, this is the first time I ever heard anybody say to me that they were a fan of my brand." And
Wow.
I remember I was very confused. I was like, what are you saying to me about you're a fan of my brand? Like, I don't know. That's kind of like weird. You know what I mean? He's like, "Nah, G, I'm a huge fan of yours." Right? And he kind of got onto our brand because of DJ Clark Kent, right?
Mm.
So Clark Kent was another fan of 100 Miles, right? Because at the time we were down with 555 Soul, which was Carmela. So our stuff was being sold in the Village in Manhattan, right? And that's where Tribe and Mos and all the artists that are legends now were shopping or hung out and stuff like that. And so Biggie really let me know. He goes, "Only celebrities rock your stuff. Like only superstars are rocking your stuff, G. And like yo, take my number, call me like literal fan of mine." And I was like, "This is weird because I'm a fan of yours." You know what I mean? And then I remember some of my customers or clients that were there when Biggie came in, they fainted. They're like, "Oh my God!" And like I'm fanning her, like, "Yo, get up, man." He looked back, and Biggie's like just so chill. And then I remember Little C's coming in, like running in. He's like maybe 4 foot, you know what I mean, at the time,
Yeah.
like super. We're all young, you know,
Yeah.
and we didn't know that, like you said, we never knew hip hop would take it this far, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And at the time, I didn't think 33 years later, that he'd be a martyr, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
like, you know, still a legend in my eyes, and just giving me that insight is what got me serious now.
Mm.
Like I went from total immaturity of my brand to saying, "Hey, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to mature with this brand. I'm going to put my all into it because of what Biggie said to me."
Mm.
Oh, and then a few years later, seeing Above the Rim,
Yeah.
and that was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, we got to get into that.
The moment.
Oh, thanks for sharing that story. Biggie was a big guy, I heard. Was he like 6'3"? Like he was tall.
He was huge. He was big.
Yeah.
He was big, notorious, but he was so humble.
Yeah, he seemed like a humble guy. One thing I want to know is when he came here, he was big, but he wasn't at the the pinnacle yet, right?
He was still like what we call underground,
Right. Right.
still like street for the hardcore hip hop fan.
Right.
Like, and that's what we were. We were hardcore and all about like every new artist, every beat of the music, and and he represented it. And being Jamaican, and myself being Jamaican, it was like just like a plus plus.
Yeah.
That even more, connect, like 'cause, like we're like the second generation from our parents, and now
Yeah.
we're embracing this new music, you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
is different from what we were raised on,
Mm.
you know what I mean, and we're pushing it, you know what I mean, so I felt like part of the collective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo, gee, sometimes I feel like I was ignorant in a way too. You know how I was talking about American blacks thinking Canada with the igloos and there's no black people there. I didn't realize that Oh, there's also Caribbeans in the States. I used to think of States as like foundational Black Americans, right? But I didn't realize, oh, when I heard Biggie was Jamaican and Busta Rhymes was Jamaican and this rappers have Bayesian. And I'm like, wait a minute. It kind of tripped me out though. So, because Busta was probably one of my favorite rappers and he
Yeah.
could spit game. And I'm like, of course, man. He has the history, man.
I know Buster from LONS, Leaders of the
Yes.
News.
Yes.
Inco, Charlie, all of them, right? I've known them. Like I remember doing an interview in New York, and Charlie Brown was on before me being interviewed. And I remember like just going on after him and telling like them like look out for 100 miles. Like we're from Toronto, but don't sleep on us.
Yeah.
Like people probably are like, where the hell's Toronto? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So it was, and like th again, this is the 90s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? No social media. There's no podcasts. There's nothing of that nature. There's just magazines, television, radio,
Yeah.
I mean, and newspapers, right?
Yeah.
So we would attack all of them. Like
Hmm.
that was my goal and then television shows. And so we'd attack everything just
Yeah.
to get exposure, right? And then a lot of times because of the publications coming from America, everybody thought we were an American brand.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we had an identity crisis where
Yeah.
we're like, no, 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 we're from Toronto, right? And so that's when I started like really designing a lot of our merch with Toronto or Canada, just to
Yeah.
let people know that hey, we are a Toronto brand. We are, north of the border, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're not American. You know what I mean? But we love you guys, but we work in Canada.
Rep in Canada. So when the artists used to come down, so this was the big time when much music was big with Rhapsody. Then we had Electric Circus. So you were in at that time. So are you telling me if the artists came down to perform, even like reggae artists,
Yeah.
when they came down to perform, they would hit you up too, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
one of them things?
Oh yeah. Like my dad knew Beanie Man. I remember making Beanie Man like Jamaican colors 100 miles and then they had Beanie Man on the sleeve. Right.
Yeah.
So and then Frisco Kid, Cabra, like so I was down with like King Turbo. So King Turbo, shout out King Turbo. They would hook me up with a lot of the reggae artists like Sean Paul now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
A few times, several times. So it was heavily always the reggae scene with me, you
Yeah.
know, or part of like our branding too. Right?
Mhm.
It wasn't just like hip hop, even though we're more known on the reggae scene.
Yeah.
Jamaica got us, and so does GT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we got peeps in all, Rupee, like we got peeps all over, so
Mhm.
we've been blessed.
Nice, man. Um, now let me know. I didn't know this. So Above the Rim is one of my favorite movies to watch. It's Juice, it's Boys in the Hood. Above the Rim is classic for me. Um, New Jersey Drive, but Above the Rim because it's basketball and Pac was in it and Dwayne Martin, a lot of good Leon, I believe, a lot of good actors, and I love the movie, right?
Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans, jeez.
Yeah. I think I'm not. No, Samuel wasn't in that one, but Bernie Mac definitely
Bernie
was in.
Mac, yeah, yeah. He played the bomb on the street. Yeah, yeah. Okay, tell me now, because I'm seeing Pac with the 100 miles all over your page. When I Google it, I see Pac with 100 miles, and I feel like a donkey because I'm like, yo, how did I miss this? I'm like, where did this? When did this happen? I feel like out of. I
That's
feel
it.
like I'm not in the loop, right? So
So,
let me know how this happened.
so basically, my friends, the Torero brothers, Jesse and Yuli, they're the huge Hollywood stars now, are directors, and at the time they were, just starting out, right? And we were, let's say, the bigger entity.
Mhm.
And then K Force. I don't know if you ever heard of Sean K Force. He's another rapper from Toronto legend. K Force had brought them down, and on the way from New York to Toronto, one of the guys in their crew got arrested for parking fines, unpaid parking fines. He was driving and he got detained. And when he got detained, they took all their money to bail out their homie so that they could continue to get to Toronto. And when they came to the store now, they're like, yo, G, we had money to spend with you, but we ain't got nothing now. Can you hook us up? And if you know me, that's like swearing at me. Like you're like I'm not hearing you, right? And so I remember they were like on their knees, please, please, G, like just hook us up.
Mm.
And so I gave in and I said, you know what? Just take one like of whatever you want and just don't ever come back to my like I was like, just don't come back and ask me for nothing again. And
Yeah.
so when they went back to New York now, I remember like seeing Yuli on 106 in Park. Like he was the guy like, yo, it's 106 in Park. Right?
Yeah.
Back then, like he would do the commercial or the drop.
Mhm.
And I remember it was Jesse, his brother, calling me and saying, yo, G, I need you to send me some more clothes. When I hear send me more clothes, I clicked, I hung up the phone. Right?
Mhm.
I said, this mother F wants me to send him more free stuff. I like, this ain't happening. Right? I
Mhm.
said, I feel like they already played me once, they ain't playing me again. And so I was talking to Parrish Smith and Eric Sermon from EPMD. Like, and if you know me, I'm a huge EPMD fan.
Mhm.
And at the time, they were telling me about bringing up Redman. Redman wasn't even known in
Yeah.
anybody, and they're like, "Yo, G, bring up Redman. We want to we want you to bring him to Toronto." And I'm like, "Who the hell is this? Who the hell's Redman?" Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Redman. And so they kept calling me, and I kept hanging up the phone. Right? And so like, "Yo, G, it's a movie." And like, click, click. And so finally, they got the producer lady, this lady, and she goes, "Is this Gary?" I remember the American accent.
Yeah.
Why you keep hanging up on the boys? They be trying to get you in a movie. And I was like, they go, McDonald's, everybody else gotta pay, but you ain't gotta pay nothing. All you gotta do is send us some clothes. And I'm like, all right. She sends like remember back then it's a fax machine. So she sends like a fax of where to send it to, sends me a UPS waybill number so that I don't have to pay for the package. So I said, all right. I said to my crew, I said, send them everything I don't like. I don't like that hoodie. Send them that. Send them that.
Yeah.
Right? So they put together the package, they send it, right? I hear nothing about it. I said, yeah, they scammed me again. You know, it is what it is, right? Anyways, I just got rid of whatever I didn't like, anyways, right? Next thing you know, like Moses is calling me, yo, G, Pac is wearing your hoodie. I was like, huh? What are you talking about? He's like, yo, Pac is wearing your hoodie. Then Pac had gotten into, I guess, a predicament. Either he had got shot or incarcerated during that
Yeah.
time.
I remember that. Yeah.
Took about 3 years or more for the movie to come out. I remember we sponsored the opening of the movie, and I just remember sitting in the movie cinema saying, "Oh my God." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then I remember that's when I said competition is no more. Yeah, we don't compete with nobody anymore. Cause we just put ourselves in a different on a different level or on a different scope. You know what I mean? That everybody else has got to now catch up to us,
Mm.
right? So we don't need to compete with nobody. We're just doing us, and we're gonna keep doing us, and that the rest is like our history. Yeah, yeah.
What
And that
was that feeling like though? Tell me how you actually felt when you seen Tupac Shakur
very
wearing 100 Mile hoodie.
very grateful, very
Mm.
humble, very thankful to God. Um, Knowing that the brand had a bigger purpose now, right? Because we just made history. as a Toronto brand from Scarborough. You know what I mean? Where people never regarded us as anything or anybody. You know, we've just put our city on the map. You know what I mean? In a way that nobody else has done, and that's being featured in a major motion picture.
Yeah.
And just always wanted to give it back to the city. And
Mm.
all the clients or customers that was rocking with us. I'd always say, this is for you guys. It's not for me to self-absorb. It's part of this culture, this legacy that all of us, including yourself, belong to and own, right? So it was just a feeling of gratitude, you know what I mean? Unthinkable. And then the next time I felt that way is when Drake did it. Uh,
Yeah. Tell me about that now. How did that come about?
um, funny, it was I've known Drake prior to all the success, and I always wanted him to, wear our brand and like, you're from Toronto, you're rapping about Toronto, and I'm from Toronto. It's only right that, we work together or, build Toronto even more on this scene. And, how our politics works, we didn't mesh.
Yeah.
And then I guess, I had a bit of a resentment,
Mm.
being honest. And I guess maybe it got back to him or he felt it, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Because I wasn't like the biggest, advocate for him, knowing that I wanted to work with him so badly and then didn't get that, the opportunity until like let's say he took off now. And I remember getting an online order, right? And I'm like, oh, snap, somebody bought two hoodies. And like our hoodies are a bit costly. So I'm like, damn, somebody got some money
There-
to buy two of our hoodies.
Yeah.
Remember it was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning when I saw the orders. And then um in the morning when I woke up, I saw an email saying, hey, we're Drake's handlers and we're wondering if you could, expedite these hoodies as soon as possible. Right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, Drake, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, hey, they paid for it, so let's just deliver it, right? So they asked me to deliver it to a hotel downtown. I did that. I delivered them to the the hotel that they asked. I remember them saying, thank you, thank you. I remember like, it's the playoffs time. And it's back and forth, and I said, you know what? I don't want to jinx the Raptors, so I ain't watching this game.
Yeah.
Watching none of it because my anxiety's at a whole.
I
I,
know.
I want us to win so badly.
Yeah.
And, I fell asleep,
Mm.
right? So I remember while I'm falling, like I fell asleep. I fell asleep on my girl's lap, and my phone is just going off. Like it's just like nonstop going off. Then all of a sudden I see an order like orders online are like pow like bing bing like so I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I finally answer the phone and my homie, which is Drake's barber's brother,
Mm.
says, mileage. He goes, mileage, put on the game, go watch the game. So I'm like, all right. Like I'm waking up, I got like so I'm like, I put it on the game, and then I was like, holy! Like when I saw Drake jumping in it, I was like, oh my God, and it was the same feeling I felt when Pac wore it.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? I was just very, very, very gracious to him because he's at his heights at the,
Mm.
he could wear whatever he wants, and he chose to wear me, and
Mm.
then, he follows us on social media. Shout out Drake, and the rest is history now. So it's been the same. Like I've been fortunate to feel that feeling twice now.
Yeah.
Of pure gratitude and something again for the city. You know what I mean? Not for myself just to absorb, but it's always for all those people that have been rocking with our brand that are here and gone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That this translates to, right? So it's like for me, it's give back. You know what I mean? And the culture, you know.
Yeah.
like just shining through. So that's what I could say about it.
History is made.
Yeah.
Bam. Wow. And that was the year, right? We won. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Kawhi, right? So
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
look at that. It's like all those things at once.
The
Wow.
playoffs that when he wore it.
Yes.
Playoffs when he wore it. So it was history. It was
Wow.
history again. So it was like I was like, wow, God is so good. Like we've made history twice,
Mhm.
in the space of my lifetime. Because I hope when I'm, in the grave that this brand will continue and
Live on. Yeah.
the legacy and the stories will be continued to be told.
Mm.
The greatness of Toronto, the greatness of the people that have worn the brand and supported the brand and putting Canada on the map. Yeah.
Sweet. Oh, I love your history. 33 years. This is great. And you know what's funny? The podcast is, it's just a short thing, but there's probably so many stories you can tell. It's so crazy, dude.
Yeah.
We come to the point in the podcast where I'm going to ask you a would you rather question. But before that, I want to know, did you get to meet Pac anytime before he passed?
I didn't get to meet Pac because of all the stuff that was going on at the
Yeah.
time, right? Like, the predicaments of getting shot and robbed and then the store down here, like if you had come into our store in the 90s, like there was times where there was nothing, absolutely nothing in our store. It was totally sold out.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was kind of frustrated. I was like, damn, we can't even keep up. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah.
With the amount of people that want to wear our brand, and people are coming from like all over Canada just to get a piece of our brand. And I was so young that I couldn't really fathom it, you know.
Yeah.
So I grew and matured with the brand, as I've aged, you know what I mean? And so now I'd say I'm in my maturity stage of life.
Mhm.
I'm fully comfortable in my role.
Yeah.
I'm again every day very gracious for everybody that has entered into my life and has worn our brand.
Yeah. And I'm gonna come down today. We're filming this on June 28th, 2025. I'm gonna come down. The parking is crazy at Queen Street, but let me
I'll show you where to park when you come.
all right.
I'll show you where to park.
All right. Um, I got a would you rather question. How I want to pose this question is this is pretend you're starting off. So say you're in your 20s, right? 20s, early 30s. Think of this question now. Would you rather have visited your younger self and gave yourself advice for the future? Or would you rather visit your older self to give you advice for what was going on that time when you were starting the brand?
I'd rather visit my younger self
Mm,
to kind of mature me and to help control the anxieties and help control peer pressure, right? And learning to accept the roles that God has given you, and not to be influenced by, money, vanity, things that really don't matter. Always like attain to your spiritual side and your family, and I consider my friends family. I don't consider friends friends. I consider if you're my friend, you're my family.
mm,
You're my brother or you're my sister. So developing those relationships where it's a serious bond, you know what I mean? And just learning from the mistakes that I see a lot of some of the artists that got so much stardom, like what's happening right now in the media with a particular person, and seeing some of the people that I've aspired to listen to and grew up as fans, they've become incarcerated and stuff like that, just to like be a vessel of maturity and showing them that don't be so self-consumed where that you become your own worst enemy,
Mm.
and that's what I see a lot of times in our communities, that we get a little bit of power and stardom and it gets to our heads. And that was the young me. What I mean, I was Kanye West before Kanye. Like,
Wow.
my head was big, and I thought, like, we are the ish, and ain't nobody can.
Yeah.
And our city has a way of breaking you down, if they see too much cockiness. And so I'd say just stay humble, and
Mm.
stay true to you and God.
Mm. Bless. Thanks for sharing that. Um, but you mentioned Ye before I asked the rest of these questions. Did you meet
No, I
Ye anytime?
met Kanye because I want to tell him, like, you didn't start this, you know what I mean? And you ain't like the fashion of fashion. You way, way before you.
Yeah.
So y'all, Rockaware, Fubu, all of them came at Sean John, all of them came after us. And in
Yeah.
fact, Sean John was, to me, like a spin-off off of our label, because our design, because we were doing
I
that so much of our stuff back then. So that's how we know where the idea and the design concept came from. But
of course, the way that Sean John is written, like, come on. But
yeah,
yeah, you know what's crazy though? Gee, man. You know how everyone has a clothing line right now, right? It's like everybody has a clothing line.
we don't like Maurice, one of my former um partners,
Mhm.
right, or designer. He said this to me a long time ago, and he goes, "Don't worry about competition, because competition always makes us look better."
Mhm.
Right? And
Mhm.
I've kept that for
Yeah,
30 years, that we don't care what anybody else is doing, because when you look at what
yeah.
we're always going to look better, or in our own lane. So we don't worry about the million clothing lines. We don't worry about, like, any of that. I just
Mhm.
keep trying to do what I gotta do, and that's to keep 100 miles at 100.
Yeah, of course. Yo,
100.
it's so weird to just hear how you told me in the beginning, being on the highway, and then now we come this far. I'm like, wow, putting that puzzle together. Okay, now to play on that question I asked you, whether my guest chooses younger or older self, this is a question about younger self. Four things. What would you tell your younger self about money?
Save it. Don't spend foolishly. It's the root of all evil,
Mm.
right? And money's not power. God is power.
Bam. What would you tell your younger self about family?
Family's everything. And treasure the time that you have with your family. Because when you lose somebody in your family, the dynamics change. I lost my dad, and that's when my whole world, I didn't know if I was going to continue to do this when my
Oh,
dad died. Yeah, I hit a depression, a heavy, 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 heavy depression when my dad died, because my dad was, I'm like the smaller version of him. So
yeah.
everything that I've become is I can attribute to my dad. My dad was always like my number one fan. And I remember, like, if everything wasn't going good, as long as my dad was with me or supporting me, I didn't care. And so once I lost that, that's when that, like, my world, like, felt like it was crumbling. So every day I deal with, that loss, and him and my grandmother. Those are, been, and then it's also let me grow closer to my mom. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I used to always see her as like this, the marshal.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's gotten us a lot closer. So family's everything,
Mm.
right? Like, before 100 miles is my family. That's what matters the most to me. Is my family and God. Way
Mm.
before. Um,
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Wow. Yeah, you're right. And yeah, sorry about your dad. You never get over these things. You never forget.
never, never.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Lighty.
Yes. R.I.P. What would you tell your younger self about friends?
don't have too many. Choose wisely. The friends, show me your friends and it will show you who you are, right? So you gotta be wise in the people that you choose and choose friends that will help you develop who you are and inspire you, right? And push you, and you can push them too. So it's never like a one-way street. And create it like a family too. Don't have friends that it's like a loose relationship. Have
Mhm.
a really tight relationship. So like a lot of my friends I could count on my fingers, you
Yeah.
know, because that's how, getting into this role it has become for me. You know what I mean? Because you don't know sometimes what people's, end game is with you or what they want from you. A lot of times before it was to meet artists or to connect them with artists and,
Yeah.
or listen to my demo and, push their demo
But
through
she's
or
yeah.
their album or whatever they were trying to do.
Mhm.
So, just keep your friends close and don't have too many.
Yeah. Oh, that's good advice. What would you tell your younger self about love?
Oh, that's a good one. What I tell my younger self about love, I would tell my younger self, don't fall in love fast, but love deeply and love
Mm,
from your heart. I tell my younger self about love the spirit, don't love the flesh, right? Love that person within. Don't love the look or the body structure because sometimes with all that there's nothing inside.
mhm.
You know what I mean? So love that person for who they are, not for what they look like or what they have. You know what I mean? Or the vanity that they have. You know what I mean? So that's what I say about love.
Yes. Yo, you got through it. Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing that. I hear so many different things. I heard someone else say that too. Love deeply. Someone said that on my podcast. But yeah. Okay, podcast is almost done. There's one thing I need to know about, man. The female rappers. How many like and R&B singers, who have you met? Because when I had Kwame on my show, he told me about stories about Beyonce when she came down to see Kiss 92. He told me about the Brad, you know what I mean? Even Trish Stratus in wrestling, right? But do you have any stories that you could share with me?
Janae, Janae.
Yo,
Yeah, I remember them like wanting to like really hang with me and my homie,
yeah.
and we were like we were like your stars, like we were like kind of starstruck, and we were like, and back then I'm like, damn, I wish I did, like what I mean? We were hot, I'm like I froze, you know what I mean? I was very kind of shy or nervous about talking to such women that had, popularity, or a big song at the time.
Yeah.
I've met and know Lauryn Hill
Oh, yes.
as the Fugees, so
Fuji's, yeah.
Praz.
Mhm.
Met them, and she gave me her number, and I used to call her and go, "Yo, do you know who it is?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's Gary. You just called me 5 minutes ago." Like, yo, you know what this is? Because I was a groupie fan back then, so I'd be doing some real like crazy shit like that, like it's like I can't believe I'm talking. You know what I mean? She's like, "Yo,
Yeah.
just called me like a minute ago," and like, you know what this is? Um, Total, uh,
Oh, yeah.
um, Nadine Sutherland,
Mm.
Mishi. I was in the room with Janet. Janet
Janet
Jackson.
Jackson?
I froze again. Like I was like she has such a glow
Yeah.
that kind of you freeze when you're in her presence, right? Who else? Female wise that I've met, that are big. I'm
But Destiny's Child when they were here? No?
funny story. I was with the Fushnikins and we were at Caravana.
Yeah.
Destiny's Child was at Wonderland, and they're like, "Yo, G, we're gonna leave Caravana and go meet Destiny's Child." And I was like, F that, man. I'm staying at Caravana, yo. And now I want to kick myself.
Oh my gosh.
Going because they were stars too, so they could get up with, and at the time, like, Caravana's the ish.
Yeah.
I want to jump up and I want to
Yeah, yeah.
I want to eat that. You know what I mean? My wine skin, and so I regret not meeting up with Destiny's Child. I had the opportunity and I didn't pursue it.
Oh. Yo, Kwame told me a story about Janet Jackson. I gotta ask though, have you had the opportunity to meet any big stars? You know, Michael Jackson was still alive back then. And there's a lot of big names that we grew up with R&B. You could just name them like Gladys Knight. You know what I'm talking about? The old school people.
Erica
Does
Badu,
any old school people come down?
Erica Badu.
Erica Badu, yes.
Yeah, I remember I had a crush on her.
Yeah, yeah.
So I presented her like I was wearing a three-piece suit when I met her.
Oh, wow.
I had to find out she was pregnant for Andre 3000. And I was like, I hate this lady now because I was so in love with her.
Yeah.
We're both Pisces.
Oh, okay.
So we
Yeah.
both had that eccentric energy
Mhm.
vibe to us. So I remember Erica, um, Renee from Janae,
Okay. No.
like so, and these are like from my time, like some of the legends. I want to say, well, I've been around when Aretha was here, but
Aretha Franklin?
Aretha, you couldn't like talk to her or anything. She's a diva.
Wow.
Remember just being in the hallway, like such a fan. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for sharing all those stories. I do have to ask you before I get into the real talk question. Kwame also told me a story about Redman because you touched on Redman before he
Uh-huh.
wasn't anything, right? So Kwame told me a story, and he had Redman sign something
Mhm.
because I think he said he knew he was gonna bust,
Yeah.
and now like, who Redman is, right? But I know you met Red and Meth later on in life. But when did Red start hitting? Like, when did you say, "Oh, this is the guy"?
Uh, First album, Tonight's the Night. Like I knew about Redman. Like I met Red first time was in Buffalo on the EPMD tour.
Yeah,
I think it was a strictly business tour, and that's when I was blown away. Like I never saw brothers come out of a tour bus like all branded with their faces and big gold chains and like superstars. And they're,
yeah,
oh gee, this is Redman, and I see this guy and he has a baseball bat in his hand, and he scared the shit out of me. I was like, yo, this guy is crazy.
yeah,
And and you know, then getting to see him wear us on Soul Train, like Redman performed in our clothing on Soul Train,
yeah.
Don Cornelius, and
Tom Cornelius.
and that was like legendary in itself, and then seeing him in like Word Up magazine and different The Source rocking our stuff because of EPMD. And so we have a strong relationship to this day with Red, what I mean, and Meth and Wu-Tang, the
Oh, dang.
SMO Wu's rocking us right now. And
Yeah.
shout out Street Life Wu, shout out Meth, shout out Ray, Ghost, You God, Jizza, RZA, all
Yeah. Go down the list. Golden Arm. And then rest in peace to Old Dirty Bastard. You met
that was my
ODB?
closest. That was my closest one. She
Wow.
was down with me. The out of all of Wu, Dirty would always ask me, "Gee, you all right? You maintaining?" Like a lot, some of the artists would just be about the clothes,
Mhm.
but there's certain artists that really what I call check for me and made sure that like I was good, and Dirty was one of them. Dirty always was like, "Gee, you good? You all right? Everything good with you?" And it showed natural care, and
Yeah.
that's why Dirty will always be. He has that persona, but when you really know him, such a good person. So
Yeah.
he's Dirty.
Yeah. Jada Kiss. I seen you in a couple pictures with Jada.
Jada's real too.
He seems like he's a real one too, man.
real, very real. Shout out Jada Kiss. Jada knows our history
Mhm.
about our brand, obviously because of Big and all the things that we've done with Above the Rim and the different artists that have worn us. So shout out Jada, the Locks, and just shout out hip hop.
Yeah.
Period. Shout out all the genres that have embraced us: reggae music, dancehall music. Shout out R&B, Johnny Gill, Chubb Rock, like everybody that has ever worn our brand or all our customers worldwide. Like we're a worldwide brand now.
Yes.
We're all over the world in terms of our customers, our clients. Where our brand has been like New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Denmark, Japan, China. Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad, Italy, France, UK, England, Wales. Oh man, pretty much everywhere you could think of. Our brand has been Africa,
Mm.
been able to travel and develop. So I'm very, very, very grateful and very humbled to see that, we're from Toronto and we're a global entity now.
Yes. International.
Yeah, we're international.
Wait. Oh, this is a pleasure doing this. Thank you for doing this. The last thing we're gonna do before the donations is two cards in my hand. You're gonna ask me which one to read out, the Blue Jays or the Raptors.
Raptors.
Of course, man. Wait, what would I even ask that question for?
Raptors.
Okay. What is one of the most memorable moments of your life?
The Raptors is when they won the playoffs. Drizzy wearing our hoodie and we winning the whole championship that and then going down to the parade and holding up Drake rocking our hoodie and everybody just like showing us love and supporting us and we did like a pop-up in the parade and people just buying our shirts and stuff like that. It was just amazing feeling, just to be a part of that and part of the history now. And we're embedded in, a huge moment in Toronto history. Our brand.
That moment, man. I went down to the parade with my girl and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Yes, yes,
Staple, man.
yeah,
Staple.
yeah.
All right. Mhm. Now, the last thing we're gonna do, I always donate to a charity cause after every episode. Okay, Gary, 100 miles. Oh, Star Scorpio. I got four balloons in my hand. You're gonna tell me which one to pop, and then I'll know which charity I am donating to. The charities are Juku Sports, Claws, Kawartha Lakes Animal Wellness Society, the Fundraiser Warriors, and Liam's Mission. One, two, three, or four.
I don't go number one because we are number one.
There you go. Yo, I got to tell you, when I started this new season, like I started continuing my podcast,
Mhm.
I've done three so far, and it's been the same charity. It's just weird luck. I'm gonna see what this one it is today. Episode 102, Star Scorpio will be donating to. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna hold it up, but I don't know if you'll see it. This is my boy, Juku Sports. Just like you, I have friends from time, public school, and my boy Kevin B. You probably even know him through the circles. Because he was DJing. He went to York and everything. He started Juku Sports for the kids. So 102 donation will be going to Juku Sports.
Shout out Chuku Sports.
Yes. Last thing before we go, I want you to plug your stuff. Russell Peters, one of my mentors when I got into comedy. Of course, Eddie Murphy was the guy who got me into comedy. But when I found out about Russell, I was like, this guy is amazing, and it really made me want to do comedy in Toronto. But I seen a picture of you and Russell. You down with Russell, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Mm,
Sim and Scratch. Those are my peeps, man. Those are my
yeah.
day ones. I remember seeing Russell like when he started and I gave him a shirt and he goes, "Oh shit, I'm finally famous. I get 100." I started to crack up, like, you know what I mean? He's like, shit, I finally get 100 miles. And the picture you see with me and Russell, like, yo, G, let me take the picture. Let me take the picture. So he takes my phone and he takes the
Oh,
picture.
he took it.
Yeah, let me take it. So I guess he wanted to get his good angle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So shout out Russell. Shout out starting from scratch by day one scratch. Love you like for life scratch. You know what I mean? And shout out all the DJs in the world, especially at the local heads that, have been rocking with 100 Miles for the last 33 years. There's so many names that I don't want to, begin, but I just gotta say just a huge thank you to all of you guys. Y'all know who you are, and let's just continue to keep it 100.
Mm, thank you. And last shout out, I gotta shout out Notorious DJ Carlos because if I
Oh,
didn't see that post with you and him,
yes.
I wouldn't have
Oh, yeah.
contacted you.
From day
So
one. Shout out
thank you.
Carlos, DJ Carlos. We used to make custom clothes for Carlos. Back then we made his logo actually, the Major League logo, right? Like that's kind of if you look at our world, it's a spin-off of our one of our design, right? Is the Major League logo. He was part of a collective
Mhm.
or a promotion company called Major League, and 100 Miles made their logo, right? That they were using, and hopefully still using, right? Uh, we've done a lot on the scene, and we just want to continue to keep doing what we do.
Bless up. All
Yeah.
right, let the people know where they can find you, the store, and also the socials before we go.
At 100 Miles brand on every platform, whether TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. It's at 100 MILES brand, BRAND, 100milesbrand.com. Our website, our store is in the beach or slash the beaches in
Beaches.
Toronto, 2359 Queen Street East. And that's in the dot, aka Toronto, aka the six. You know what I'm saying? So please come down, support, the locals to the internationals. You know what I'm saying? And I want to thank Star Scorpio for giving us the opportunity to, tell our story and, continued success, my brother.
Yes, thank you. Bless up.
Bless.
Episode 102 with Gary Miles, 100 Miles Clothing, Real Talk with Star Scorpio, and we out.
Peace.